Welcome to another edition of the ISB podcast. I'm your host Sahil here with Deshana, covering the round 2 of the group stage of the Olympics for the U.S. women's national team. And of course, we'll touch on some of the other matches as well that are happening in the women's Olympic soccer tournament. Deshana, it was a wild day. It was an absolutely wild day, but we got to start off with the U.S. women.
Yeah, I mean, best performance I think I have seen of the U.S. women. I mean, this was a statement if I have ever seen one. Honestly, I have very few comments, probably mostly about the second half, but it was fire from the start. And I am just so happy with this lineup, with the team chemistry, with the way they're learning how to finish, with Sophia Smith and her advancement and how far she's come. I have a lot of good things to say.
I agree. I think I would agree. This is the best performance I've seen from the U.S. women's national team. I think it's the best. It might be the best performance. It's 100% of this iteration of the team, starting with the World Cup last year. But it was a fantastic performance. Let's talk a little bit by bit, because we start off the match, and right off the bat, the U.S. comes off, scores the first goal, and we've talked so much about them not being clinical. And in this particular match, it was about finishing the chances and creating fantastic chances. It was everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was just beautiful. Like, the chemistry was amazing. You know, Sophia Smith had 2 great goals, and the second one, even though it was a bit of a kind of a fluky goal, you have this turn that she does that's awesome. Mal Swanson, obviously, like, that is a power striker move. It's come in there and get that little rebound. Just so awesome. And then we have Lynn Williams, that I am so happy she got in what was arguably one of the best finishing, touches of the game. I mean, this is the NWSL big scorer. And, I have to say, sometimes she comes on the pitch and her ball control could be a lot better, but I'm really happy for her that she got this, because that was just super smooth, super just clean, just nice, pretty,
Yeah, I think, Mal Swanson, now you see, makes such a difference on the team, because not only her finishing, like you mentioned, the striker's goal where she followed up on a rebound where the goalie spilled it. It was initially a nice shot, but also her ball movement. She did a little dummy, to let the ball roll through on the first, the one of the goals that the U.S. scored today. And so her movement is fantastic. And I think that's really what's changed. So really, you're starting to see the link-up play between the forwards on the U.S. women's national team now, and you're seeing the passing become more incisive. I think Mal Swanson has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, tremendous difference. We've definitely talked about this, but I also think Trinity Rodman, she had some good strikes. She had that far one from distance, which could have gone in. I will say, there's still a little bit of room for improvement. I would say, particularly with Trin, I still think she dribbles too much. I mean, she's super fancy, super nice on the field, but I do think at certain times it gets a little bit too complex when it doesn't need to be. And then the other area I think that we could definitely improve upon is we just keep giving the ball away a little bit too much. Trinity Rodman did it, Haran did it, and, Germany got some chances off of those. And I still think that takes a little bit of work. I have to say, though, Rose Lavelle had a very, very good game.
Yeah.
This is one of the best games I think she's had in a very long time. So I was happy to see that as well.
Yeah.
And, Nair, she had some good saves as well.
Yeah, she did have some good saves. I will say, I will say that I think Trinity Rodman has taken it to the next level, though. In this, you've seen over the course of the last maybe year since the World Cup or so, because she's been on fire, and she's a player on a mission that not very many players are able to compete with her at this point in time. And that's what makes this team so dangerous, I think, because the front three with Sophia Smith, Trinity Rodman, and Mal Swanson are a handful to deal with. And I agree with you. If the U.S. continues to play like this and they clean up some of those plays in the middle, obviously, Germany got the goal. I thought that was a little bit like loose on some of the plays that led up to the goal by Germany. But aside from that, I thought it was a perfect match.
No, I agree. I mean, I think also, I think also people underestimate Lindsey Horan and how important she really is on the pitch and how consistent she is. She's almost sort of become like a silent feeder. She'll just make these great balls and like feet in the right spot. It's almost like she has great peripherals and can kind of understand where everybody's on the pitch. And I really think this lineup works really well. I would say my only thing was maybe we could have brought in some subs
Yeah.
earlier. I don't want these players to get injured. Tierna Davidson, obviously, we don't know what's happening with her because, it's whether it's the way that the cleats are designed, the increased amount of games, the schedule, or whatever's happening with women's soccer, there has definitely been an increase in injuries. And I think that's something that people have to be kind of aware of, especially when you have such a small squad.
Yeah, I thought that was a little odd. I think that was the two things I wanted to point out that I thought could have been improved in the game that was almost perfect was the goal that we allowed, and as well as I thought Emma Hayes should definitely have brought subs on because you saw like Trinity Rodman was showing that I don't think it was a full injury, it looked like cramping, but she needed to be subbed out, and I don't know what was the need to keep the players in when you're winning 4-1 that late in the match, or even 3-1 for that matter. There should have been some subs in. So I think that's something that needs to get better, especially next match since we've already qualified for the quarters.
Yeah, I know. It begs the question. It's funny because obviously we didn't think that Macario would get injured. And then last game, we obviously had Lynn Williams come in and play the 9. It does make me wonder, could we have put Alex Morgan on this reserve squad and then maybe have her come in? I don't know. Obviously, that's not the best etiquette. So that's probably why she was left off of those, players who were there prepared to go. But it does make me wonder for sometimes those last 20 minutes, maybe it might have been like a nice little thing to see her out there.
Yeah, but regardless, to beat Germany, a team that's ranked ahead of the US by 4 goals to 1 and in a very dominant performance, I thought this is fantastic. The US, of course, with this victory qualifies for the quarterfinals. They will win the group with just a draw against Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Any more thoughts on this? We will finish off and talk about a crazy game that happened. We do need to mention it, but any more thoughts on the US women?
No. I mean, like you said, they dominated possession. I thought Brand had a pretty good game on Germany, so I did want to just go ahead and acknowledge her. And that's it. Pretty much. The keeper had some good saves as well, but all in all, like I was not worried for a minute, and that's a feeling that I'm not used to with this
Yeah.
current squad. So I'm really excited.
It was definitely a statement game from the U.S. women's national team, and we just want to see that continue on to the next match against Australia and then moving forward in the quarterfinals, because this was a team that was supposed to be out there, second-ranked team in the world in Germany, and today the U.S. made them look very average, and I thought the U.S. could have even had a couple more goals. So fantastic match by the U.S. women's national team. We want to touch on the other game in the group briefly for those who may have missed it, because this was one of the most epic matches in women's soccer I think I've ever seen. And the fact it was 6-5, it was just incredible.
I mean, I don't even know what to make of it. I will start off by saying I think both keepers were a little bit weak, which is why we had such a high scoring game. But I mean, BB, big Barbara Brandra scoring a hat trick is like, that's freaking awesome. I mean, we have the most expensive players on the pitch, and I think they proved themselves. We had 2 VAR reviews. It was just a very kind of like back-to-back action-packed movie of a game, really.
But for Zambia, being up 5-3 at that point in time, for them to lose this lead and to end up losing this match, it's just a complete collapse, and they've got to feel hard done by this.
Yeah, I mean, it was sad to watch, and I don't know. I mean, as great as they are in their offense defensively, they're just quite weak, and they made a lot of mistakes, and I think they make a lot of mistakes on set pieces and just not marking players properly, and that definitely is their downfall. But I think if they can work on that, obviously they have so much speed up front, and I just think the sport will just keep growing. And this is definitely not their tournament, but I have an idea that they're gonna be like, get ready for them, in the future.
Yeah, I think the future of Zambian football looks very bright. With regard to Australia now, Australia will play the U.S. women's national team. I didn't see anything much in here for the U.S. women to be worried about.
No, I mean, especially without Sam Kerr, honestly, it is like it's just changes. It's kind of the equivalent of us playing without Mal Swanson. It just changes the game entirely, and I don't foresee too many issues. I would be very surprised. Although I will say the only thing I think Emma Hayes pointed out is that it is an interesting experience to kind of come off of this high and then see what happens after that. But I think as a whole, if anything, this has not just been one game, but 2 games of just confidence. And I think they played far better in this game against obviously a much tougher opponent. And I have not pointed out that I think partially we play better against better opponents. So I'm hopeful. I have no notes. I would love to see the same lineup. And the only difference is maybe if we do have a lead, I'd like to see some other subs come in. I'd like to see other players play, especially for this last game where the stakes are quite low, or at least they should be, unless we do something bad.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we just need to call out obviously Naomi Gurma, since every single match she has a top match. And I thought again today she was another unsung hero of the match.
Great. Yeah. And also that defensively, when Trini Rodman saved that, I thought that was also excellent. So, that's another thing. I think Trin is really stepping it up defensively as well. And that's a nice, I guess, little advancement.
Yeah, there's a lot of togetherness. I think the whole team is fighting for each other, passing. There's a lot that individualistic style that we were used to seeing during the World Cup, I think, has dissipated. So
yeah, I mean, the assists are so strong too. These crosses, just definitely a lot of team unity.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So the U.S. women's national team dominates Germany 4-1. Moving on to the quarterfinals, the next match against Australia will be to shore up the first place in the group. Of course, we'll see who they play after, but we will say it proudly today as the U.S. women's national team qualifies for the quarterfinals. Go USA!